Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Mark Goes Hiking. In this episode, we're going to talk about gear that you may have, but you rarely or never ever use. Now, if you're like me, you walk into your gear closet, your gear cabinet, your garage, your attic, wherever you keep your gear, and you're getting ready for a trip, and you're pouring through all the different gear that you might have, and there's items that you always look at, that you always pick up, that you always consider taking on a trip, but they never come with you. So I have actually six items today that I want to talk about. They're pieces of gear that I've had for a while, that I'm usually excited to use, but I've either never used them or hardly ever used them. So let's jump right in with number one. I'm holding it in my hand right now. It's the smallest piece of gear. It's also extremely inexpensive. I wanted to take it for so many reasons. One being leave no trace was definitely a reason for getting this. And this was one of those bidets that you hook up to your water bottles. Now, they work just fine. There's a couple different versions out there. I'm sure you've seen them on different websites and whatnot. This is, you get three for I think $10, although that was over a year ago. And they work just fine. However, you do have to be careful about getting clothing items wet while you're doing such things, and it's not the easiest process in the world. And I also found that there's still a little bit of toilet paper that's needed. So it's this item that's always in my pack, it's always in my toilet kit, but I haven't used this thing in quite a while now. And I don't think I'm gonna use it anymore, just because I just don't. It's a matter of convenience. I thought it would be more convenient, and maybe if I was better at it, it would be. I don't know. But the Backcountry bidet is just one of those items I want to use. I just don't use it. For the second item, let's jump a little bit up in price, a little bit up in cost, and that is the Aeropress coffee press. Aeropress coffee maker. It's a cool coffee making device. It's good for camping. However, it also makes a really good cup of coffee. It makes a small cup of coffee. I think there is a larger size that you can get, but it is a good cup of coffee, okay? However, there are easier ways while car camping or trailer camping or just tent camping at a campground to make just as good, and if, in my opinion, maybe a little bit better coffee than even the Aeropress makes. However, it's a good cup of coffee, okay? But for backpacking, sometimes I think even if I go on an overnight trip, maybe I'll take the Aeropress just to do something different, but this thing's really heavy. And if I'm gonna carry bulk, if I'm gonna carry coffee grounds, if I'm gonna carry the weight, I'm just gonna carry a pour over, which is lighter, and in my opinion, does make a better cup of coffee anyway. So although I value a great cup of coffee, I value different ways of making coffee. I love making coffee in different kinds of ways. This one, even though I look at it almost every single time I pack up for a trip, it just never makes it into my pack. Item number 3 is from a website called Garage Grown Gear, and it's a titanium pan. I think this is the 5.5-inch diameter pan. It's really light. I've never used it though. I've had it for quite a while. I thought this would be great for overnight trips, so I could maybe just bring an egg or two from my hens, which are just over there, and maybe bring up some bacon, bring it up frozen, and for winter hiking, it'll stay cold over the night. I could fry it up in this pan and then make an egg in the pan. I just never do it. I look at it every single trip. I actually grab it and I put it by my food kit, and then when I go to do my final pack up, it never makes it to my bag, because I don't know, maybe because I make my food all the time at home. I'm not an eat out kind of guy. I don't go to restaurants. So maybe when I go on the trail, I'm just okay with cooking whatever, because we have really good food at home. I don't know what the reason is, but someday, little fellow, I will take you out on the trail and I'll cook up a steak or something hearty and good and yummy in here. I just haven't done it, although I think it's a really cool item because it's really crazy light and be really convenient. And I think even from Garage Grown Gear, you can get the little olive oil packets too, like the condiment packets. So you got your olive oil, everything's really accessible. It's totally convenient. I just haven't done it yet. Maybe someday, little guy, I'll take you out on the trail someday. The final two items, I don't want to say it's going to be controversial, but I think people will disagree with me, and I think that's totally fine because people use and love these two, well, slash three items. And I love the idea of them. I think they're phenomenal products. I just don't use them. The first one is this, is that the right way? This Grayl water filter. 16 ounces. I think it actually weighs 16 ounces as well. I think this weighs a pound. It only holds 16 ounces of water. It's a great setup. I have used it on overnight trips where the water source is close by. And I look at it this way. Here's the reason it doesn't come on weekend or longer trips with me at this point. It's not because of its weight. I pack light in so many other places. I could easily afford the space and the weight for this. The thing is, I have to carry additional water bottles anyway. I can only store 16 ounces in this. And if I don't have a water source every mile or so, I need to carry other water bottles with me. Filter, fill, filter, fill. That's a lot of filtering, what, a half liter at a time? That just doesn't seem very convenient for me. It's easy to use and it works great. The water tastes awesome. It just seems like a lot of work for a little bit of water when I could carry something like the 1 liter Be Free. It's gonna filter, I would argue, just as fast, but I'll get my full liter faster than this. Also, if I wanna take this, just this, and not extra water bottles, if I'm at my campsite, even if I'm by water and I wanna make coffee, I wanna cook and drink some water, I'm making multiple trips to the water source just to stay hydrated and, you know, get the water that I need for cooking or for coffee or things like that. Phenomenal product. It's something that I really dreamed of using because it seems like such a great option. It just never makes it into my pack. The last item slash last two items, I say it one or two because they go together. This actually made it on my list, my new gear list of 2022 that I made earlier this year. I think right at the start of January. And I'm still really excited about this piece of gear. I just don't know if I'm ever gonna get around to using it. It's the thermal rest. It's the Neo Air Uber Light. This is the one that weighs just over half a pound. And then along with that comes the micro pump. I have them both. I have never unrolled this. It's out of its box, but it has never even been unrolled. There's a few reasons for that. One, I think the most obvious is, for me is, I typically go backpacking, even for my overnight trips, in a hammock. So I don't need an air mattress in my hammock. So this stays home almost every trip I go on because I'm sleeping in a hammock, okay? I do intend for this to be an option for cold weather hiking when maybe I do want to use a tent. Even winter hiking, if it's not going to get too cold out and I use a tent, I could take this for a very lightweight option. I do use the other thermal rest pad that has the R value of, what is it, like 4.6 or something like that. But the main reason this doesn't make it to my pack is because I sleep in a hammock most of the time. Now, the second reason why I haven't taken this out with a tent yet is, gosh, the reviews on this are so mixed. People talk about the seams leaking, these things failing quite a bit. And I just don't want to be out in the middle of a trip and night number one have this thing fail on me, because I've seen a lot of reviews of these things failing right away. The last reason is I have the 20-inch wide version. Now, I side sleep most of the time, so that's gonna be totally fine, but there are moments in the night where I just wanna lay on my back, and it's super uncomfortable to do so because with the 20-inch wide pad, your arms are always falling off, and it's just not very comfortable, so it really forces me to side sleep. So I've experienced that with my other Thermarest pad, and I would have the same thing with this because they're the same width. Now, if I'm going for an ultralight setup, I am willing to suffer that consequence. It's totally fine. It's one of those pieces of gear I'm excited to use at some point, but I have a sneaky feeling I might put this thing up for sale at some point this year. I'm frankly not really about having a bunch of gear that you just never use. I think it's good that if you're not using it, to either give it away or sell it, give it to someone else who really needs to use it. So I want to use it, I just don't know if I'm going to. In the comment section below, please leave a message about what gear you own that you love or that you're excited about, but you rarely or never use. I'd be really interested to see what you all have that fits that criteria. Until then, please consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell, and visiting often. Take care, guys. Thanks for visiting. See you later.